I cannot find that human anywhere. Hang on a moment, humans. I know how to do this. Let's see. Just to get things started. Yes. Here it is.
Welcome to episode 11 of the Chronicles of Geek. How we got here. Like here in this show kind of thing. Anyways, we'll get there. Now, you may be thinking, what does that mean? What the heck is Damon talking about? Okay, first of all, this is not going to be a full normal episode. Yes, it definitely has content, and the later part of the show is going to be the full interview with John and Peter from last week. It was requested, and it kind of fits perfectly with today's show, so why not? Now, on the schedule this week, it was supposed to be a break week for the show. But unfortunately, over the past few weeks, the modern world kind of gave me a few unscheduled breaks along the way. But the show must go on, and for me, well, simply, this show is an escape. And no, not just the season theme. I mean the actual show itself is an escape for me to create it and share it in this crazy modern world. Now, if you recall in the last episode, I was talking about how in times of stress we go back to our roots and we resume old hobbies. My friends John and Peter went back to scale replicas of vehicles that do amazing things. And heck, last year when this pandemic was in its early stages, I decided to become a train engineer again. Or maybe not the engineer, but a surveyor, city planner, designer, architect, and okay, yes, a train engineer. Also, I want you to note that this was before I got married last fall, so you know my wife definitely loves me, for sure. Because when one takes over a good chunk of the living space to pursue one's hobby, it can get a little bit squishy. Now, old hobbies can come back anew. They can provide a gateway to happy times of the past and drag them forward to today. But even they can run their course, and a brain such as mine, needs to do something new. Or old new. So I found myself going back, way back, to when I was about 16 and someone gave me a video camera, and then a TV station. Hey, it was the early 90s on a Canadian military base, and it was a little bit of a different world. In that time, though, I discovered my love for media, or more correctly, my love for creating things for media. Again, a topic for an upcoming show. Now, going back into where we are, my career path went down the road of media. That's where I started from, and how I wound up in the world of new media. Now, here's a true story. I assumed of the role of a college webmaster because I was the only one that knew what HTML stood for in the room. Or at least, I was the only one young and naive enough to say so. But I digress. Media production, creating things, it was always there. But then a bunch of stuff happened that we like to call life. And then a few moons later, a plague happened. And then I needed an escape. And voila, now I have a little show on YouTube, lost in the sea of shows. But I have a few loyal watchers that seem to like what I do, and more importantly, it provides me the escape that I need. So welcome to this special mid-season episode of the Chronicles of Geek. Sit back and join Ish and myself, Damon Roth, the geek from the north, as we sit around and try to figure out exactly where we came from and where we're going. And don't forget to like and subscribe below.
It's time for the random quiz-o-matic. Hello, humans. Do not worry, the answer for last week's mega question is coming right up. But for now, oh, and yes, I forgot to mention last week, but this week I am told to tell you to put your answers in the comments on the video so we can compare them and pick winners and something like that. I don't know. The human was very big. Anyways, question number 1. What does HTML stand for? Question 2. Did you recognize the major transportation company in the train video? Oh, that video. Well, of course they would recognize it. It's Canadian, and they're buying train tracks all the way to Mexico. Silly human and his questions.
All right, there is no flashback news this week. Next week we'll have another installment, but like I said, this week's episode is a little bit different. But if you remember last week, I said that I would tell you what my favorite fandom is. Oh, and a tease for our upcoming episode of Chronicles of Geek, episode 12. Next week, we're talking about fandoms. And basically, whether they're good, how they're bad, the dark, the light, all of it. But my fandom, my favorite fandom, for those of you who have not guessed yet, well, I'm not going to tell you quite yet. I'm going to read you a little excerpt from the original novelization. Chapter 1. It was a vast, shining globe, and it cast the light of lambent topaz into space. But it was not a sun. Thus the planet had fooled men for a long time. Not until entering close orbit around it did the discoverers realize that this was a world in a binary system and not a third sun itself. At first it seemed certain nothing could exist on such a planet, least of all humans. Yet both massive G1 and G2 stars orbited a companion center with a peculiar regularity, and the planet circled them far enough out to permit the development of a rather stable, if extensionally hot, climate. Mostly this was a dry desert of a world whose unusual star-like yellow glow was the result of a double sunlight striking sodium-rich sands and flats. The same sunlight suddenly shone on the thin skin of a metallic shape, following crazily toward the atmosphere. The erratic course the galactic cruiser was traveling was intentional, not the product of injury but of a desperate desire to avoid it. Long streaks of intense energy slid close past its hull, a multi-hued storm of destruction like a school of rainbow remoras fighting to attach themselves to a larger, unwilling host. One of those probing, questing beams succeeded in touching the fleeing ship, striking its principal solar fin. Gem-like fragments of metal and plastic erupt into space as the end of the fin disintegrated. The vessel seemed to shudder. The source of those multiple energy beams suddenly hove into view, a lumbering Imperial cruiser, its massive outline bristling cactus-like with dozens of heavy weapon emplacements. Alright, so without me actually revealing the names of a couple of characters that were mentioned there, were you able to get it? Damon, the geek from the north, favorite fandom, which of no surprise is of course Star Wars. Okay, now why is that important? If you remember last week, I mentioned that I was going to start on a multi-week arc on a theory about the galaxy far, far away that many of us, like Yoda in his last century of rule, have lost in the cloud of a gray fog. And by the way, that's not an opinion, he literally says it to himself in the prequel. Alright, Star Wars. For me, it's my lifelong passion. So I need you to know a couple things. Now, if you're loyal to your fandom, you always insist on telling people your resume. It's kind of a thing. So mine. I have seen every Star Wars movie, yes, every single one, in theaters on the original release run. Yes, I'm that old. I have read every Legends book, and I am almost up to date on all the Disney timeline, the new canon stuff, the High Republic and the Thrawn series, all that good stuff. And speaking of the new Thrawn book, it should be out by the time you're listening to this or watching it. Comics, video games, you name it, if it's Star Wars, I have consumed it. When it comes to Star Wars, for my friends, I'm their lifeline. But enough Star Wars for now, because I'm going to promise you right now, though we'll be talking about Star Wars in upcoming episodes, it's only going to be in a way to illustrate the escape or the point of the episode as we work towards this theory, kind of like a little segment, so don't worry, it won't dominate everything. Like all good geeks and Uber fans, I just needed you to know.
Rando, Quizomatic, question 3 for 5 points. Which famous Star Wars character has a new book released this week? Hint, he's blue, and the human literally just mentioned him. Rando, Quizomatic, question 4, which is the last one for today. What is the official name of the story, episode, movie, well, whatever it was, it's not episode 4, but what the human read, what is the actual name of that story? Okay, humans, that's the 4 questions for today, and I suppose you want the answers again, which is, I don't understand why. You think you would just know if you're right or wrong, but I guess it's something that the humans, yes, I know, say the answers. No more rambling-ish. Alright, number 1. HTML stands for 5 points, Hypertext Markup Language. Number 2 is the Canadian Pacific Railway. Number 3 is Thrawn, or however you say it, or any of his name combinations. He's got like 15 of them, but that's the guy, the blue chiss guy, you know, the one that everybody in Star Wars loves, or loves to hate, one of the two. And 4, the title of the original Star Wars movie, of course, was A New Hope. That's it for this week, humans. Next week, more engaging questions, and hopefully a prize or 2.
All right. Like I said, this week is a different type of episode. But hey, nobody ever said there was a set format. When one is escaping, one just goes where the waves take you. That's why I'm known for being a little bit Ish.
Yes? You called?
One moment, Ish. I forgot how good your ears are.
Okay, but hurry up. My beverage is getting tepid.
Tepid? Anyway, escape, as we have discussed, is important, but there can be a downside, a dark side, and not one with cookies, unfortunately. Next week, using my favorite fandom, Star Wars, we will look at a bit of this dark side, but of course, we will also look at the light side. Now, if you want me to mention your favorite fandom, drop a comment below. But for now, please enjoy the full interview with John and Peter and their big, tiny trucks. All right, welcome to Geeks Like Us. Now, today I have 2 geeks that I've known for quite some time. We met way back, I don't even want to say how many moons ago. Doing an entirely different escape than what we're going to talk about today. Back in the day when we used to play roller derby. Different story. We'll talk about it upcoming episode. But I got John and I got Peter. Guys, quickly introduce yourself. Peter, you go first.
Okay, I'm Peter. Yeah, we met playing roller derby. I don't know, sure if we're doing our roller derby names and stuff.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, so a lot of people know me as Show Me Your Hits. And yeah, that was quite a few years ago. But since COVID kind of completely stopped that, kind of been jumping into all other old hobbies that I used to do or used to have, or at least an interest into it.
Yeah, well, I met both you guys through roller derby many years ago. Little John was my name through roller derby. If you ever meet me in person, you'll understand the name because I'm, 5 feet 19 inches tall. And yeah, I used to race 1/8 scale gas trucks about 15 years ago and got out of it. And then with the other restrictions and not being able to do doodly squat as far as singing goes, yeah, I kind of got involved with racing these little trucks and putting them together. So yeah, this is just plain fun.
All right, so what we're talking about today is building, is creating. We've talked about art in the past. We've talked about music on previous episodes, but now we're talking about some hands-on creating stuff. So what these guys do is they basically, if I'm getting this wrong, but pretty much from parts, like as scratch as you can get without actually getting a 3D printer out and printing the silly things, build their own little scale model vehicles and then do a whole whack of fun things with them. That about right?
Yeah, so some of them are like, actually this first cheap one here is it's a ready to run. So it actually was completely built. All I had to do was put some batteries in it and away I went. But I did also order some, we'll say, upgrade parts or some customization parts to make it perform a little bit better. Actually, both of us are actual journey person technicians in our real life, I guess. But
so a little bit of a cheat there. I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's something totally different and it's super small. And yeah, when I started looking into this stuff, I love the little details of, like, so there's people out there that are absolutely pure artists, but not with well, some of them use a paintbrush, but just making them look exactly like their one-off replicas or something completely cool and custom, all on their own, I guess. And 3D printing is a huge part of it, actually, because you can get just the kit, but then there's endless 3D printing options to get tiny little scale gas cans and jacks, and people do full garages and stuff. It's super cool.
Nice. John, you were talking about just a couple minutes ago, you started with gas powered ones. The one you do now, is it electric or?
It is electric now, yes. From my perspective, I don't mind the gas ones, but they're it's really finicky. You got to be good at it, and you have spend lots of time playing with it, and you got to do it all the time. The electric ones, have an appeal to me because you grab the battery, you plug it in, and go. That's it. There's no mucking around with it. The fuel is unstable. You had to keep it in a can, and if you let it sit too long, it would just go bad, and you couldn't even dump it down the drain. Well, you can put it in the fire, but yeah, that's not such a good thing. Yeah, my kit that I run, I bought one. It wasn't ready to run like Peter's. Mine was it's a kit version of the same company, and it came with a bunch of metal upgrade parts already, so that it was a little more durable and handled a little bit differently. And then I've put a few little pieces into it here and there just to, make it, I guess, yeah, more fun to drive. Doesn't go a whole lot faster, but it's a whole lot of fun to drive.
Nice.
And hopefully it doesn't break down very much.
Well, yeah, that's never fun. Okay, so quickly, and without any too much detail, we'd never know who's listening. How much, if somebody wanted to do something like this, how much would this put them in the hole?
So I would say, I guess that's part of the draw of these smaller scale rigs is if you're looking around and you shop around on some of the like Amazon, Banggood, AliExpress, all those kinds of sites, you can sometimes find them with shipping. This one right here cost me like $108. And that was with softer tires and some metal drive shafts. And so far it's doing great. It's doing way better than I expected it to. But the one at the back over there, that one is like $500 and it's used. So I seen one actually on Facebook Marketplace. It's one of these other bigger brand ones. It's a bigger scale with all the upgrade parts and stuff. And I think he's asking $1,500 because he spent $3,000 on it. And that's way more than I want to ever dive into it.
I was walking through the local hobby store the other day and just looking up on the shelf to see what was there, and I was like going, all right, yeah, that's those are
there's
surprises.
2 mortgage payments.
With some of them, yeah, but I mean, just looking at them, they're incredibly detailed. Now, John, you've told me yours can climb things.
Yes. Well, they're both of them. Peter and I have similar. They start out as rock crawlers. The idea is the whole purpose of rock crawling isn't just to see how fast you can go and how big the jumps are. It's to see if you can climb over an object that's the same size as the vehicle or even bigger. And just by using technique and practice and some skill and just getting the vehicle steered in just the right direction, letting the vehicle pull itself up over top. So rocks and sticks and chunks of rope and even pieces of lawn edging in the neighbor's flower bed has been fun playing with and driving over top of. About a month ago, Peter and I were driving around, and we were frozen snow piles.
Nice.
It was awesome to play on because it was there, and it's like, hey, let's see if we can go over this. So yeah, you can find a place to go run pretty quickly, and
Okay.
just a little imagination and minutes of driving or walking.
And so,
Yeah.
so when you're doing, like, the whole purpose of this, of doing it, other than, okay, you want to tinker and it gives your brain, something to focus on, other than, your real world toils and tribulations. Although picking a hobby that's similar to your jobs, hey, why not? But when you're driving the vehicles, do you ever do scenarios in your head? You're pretending to do something, you're saving the world, anything like that? Come on, be honest.
I sometimes, when I'm driving it, I put myself in the cab, and I'm actually in the driver's seat, and that's just how I drive it. So I look at it from that point of view, and I don't necessarily do the scenarios, but I just like, hey, I want to go over here. Let's see where this trail goes, and let's see what happens when I go over here. Oh, maybe I can climb over there. Peter?
Yeah, I would say that's probably a big thing for me too, is because to do it in one-to-one scale is just way too expensive.
I've tried.
Yeah, but and I know that there's a lot of people that think of that too, because you can get those little first-person view cameras, and you can mount them up like either inside the dash, so you can even see the hood and stuff, or just mount it on the truck so that you can kind of get that view right from dragging along the bumper. But yeah, I do have kind of a couple cameras, and I've got some plans to get some really good shots. That's what I like about it, is when you put it in comparison, it's like, if I was to take my truck that I drive like every day and try to climb a curb that is halfway up the grill, I'm just gonna smack into it and cause thousands of dollars of damages. Where when you come up with one of these little trucks, and it's like, and then you pick an angle, you get one tire on it, and then you can actually, like, you can't just, sometimes you can just gun it and just gas it or whatever, but you slowly kind of crawl up it, and there's a little bit more skill and sometimes a lot of luck, but it's challenging, but it's also, I like thinking of it as the scale side. It's just a lot of fun, and it's just nice. I guess, you're kind of picturing yourself
to me, it's using my brain in a different manner, and just not thinking about work. It's concentrating on just that little task right now. Okay. 15 or 20 seconds of absolute radio silence on everything except that one obstacle right there. And I like that.
Actually, I think Lil John and I were talking about it one day when we were all excited, waiting for these stuff to come in, because it takes quite a while to get here because it's coming from the other side of the world. And we were discussing like how we wanted to do different things and different types of builds and stuff, and the more relatively inexpensive, I guess, version of it. But then I remember we had said, when was the last time that you just played?
Yeah.
And like, when I was a kid, I had a whole bunch of these like RC cars and stuff. I wanted the biggest, fastest one or whatever from whatever, Radio Shack. But I would get probably cheaper ones, just whatever my parents could afford. And then I'd like drive it off the stairs and break something. And then that was it. You gotta go buy a new one, or you can try to glue it back together, but that's about as good as you can get. With these ones, you can just get some parts. You can order up the parts, and they're all relatively
pretty durable, just like they are out of the box. Like,
but that too.
Even Peters, I've seen Peters. You wouldn't think, oh, ready to run, it shouldn't be that good, but I was quite amazed at how well it does. It's pretty fun. Like he said, 100 and change, and away you go.
Any big wipeouts with your rock crawlers?
I think I rolled mine like 20 times yesterday.
Something like that. Yeah, I was out at the river on Sunday, and it went complete barrel roll 3 times in a row, all bang, 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 roof, cab, roof wheels, 3 full times down before it hit a rock, and then I picked it up, put it back on its wheels, and put the battery back in it, and away I went. So nothing physically broken, it just rolled over. So yeah,
it happens.
I was happy about that.
Yeah.
Good. Anything that either of you want to add to your thoughts on your particular hobby here, like why you do it, anything else you want to add?
Sharing the time with someone always is enjoyable. I was very lucky when Peter started talking about this, and he kind of put the bug in my ear and got me realizing how much I enjoyed just playing with these things. So having a partner to do it with is always more fun. You can do it by yourself, but it's not the same from my perspective. If you can share it with a friend, that just doubles the enjoyment and makes it that much better. It's like, it's not quite the same as dancing, because while I'd have to lead, see,
Yeah, and there's a big height difference between us, so
you get my nipples, we rub it on your forehead. But yeah, that's an image I really didn't need, actually. But yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, we went out for an hour last night and had a rip around on some trails, and it was very enjoyable. I had a grin for couple hours afterwards just because it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Perfect. All right, gents, thank you so much for actually hang on a second, I want to change that. All right, thank you so much for joining us here on the Chronicles of Geek, the Geeks Like Us. Again, I am with Peter and I am with John, and if they want to hold up into the camera their little creations, if they got them there.
I've got a couple.
I left mine. If you give me a half a minute, I'll run downstairs and grab it. Hold on a second.
So that is the first one there that I guess started off the cheap side of it. And this one I just finished building yesterday. It's got a lot of detail. It's a very
nice.
sweet rig. Even the door is open, and it's got full interior, all metal underneath. And
do you have the controller handy?
What's that?
Do you have the controller handy?
I do. I've got 3 of them. So with the bigger one in the back there, that one would run something like this, which is a base model, like hobby grade. If you were to go to a hobby shop here, this would be kind of what you'd end up with. With these smaller ones, they end up coming with a much smaller one, which actually I like quite a bit. It fits my hand pretty well. But some people with bigger hands usually complain about it. They do feel a little cheaper plastic and stuff, but it works. And yeah, haven't had much of an issue with it.
And John, what do you got there?
Here's what mine looks like. Here, let's try and get the light a little bit better here. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it now.
Oh no, we can see it. Yeah. Nice. And
so it looks kind of like a Unimog, kind of sort of. The top is, I just put the top on, the back opens up for putting cargo in it. Yeah.
Nice.
And I guess for size comparison, this is a 1/10 scale.
Oh wow.
But it's heavily modified, and it's more of a rock racer or a rock bouncer kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Once I break some components, I'm probably going to make it more of a crawler, a dedicated crawler, than something that could actually race around and hit some jumps and
fair enough.
Like that.
You notice he didn't say if he breaks some components. He said when.
I think that was a given from an earlier part of our conversation.
Yeah,
I think so. Yes.
But again, thank you for joining us here on the Chronicles of Geek, and I hope you all have a great night and keep on climbing, racing, whatever the appropriate term is, and break an axle.
Alrighty.
Until next time, I'm Damon Roth here, escaping with you on the Chronicles of Geek on the Geek News Now networks. Now, don't forget to subscribe and like below. And as always, my friends, stay safe, stay brave, and most of all, stay geeky.